Right, welcome everyone to another daily cast. So we'll be spectating Yogg and Booboy against Adamas and Vazir. And so we start at the beginning of wave one here. Uh, well, we started at the very close to the beginning. So first time that happens, but that's normally because Booboy takes a long time to load in, so it's easier for the game spectate option to work. But no matter, we do have our Legion spells here, Punch Up, quite a passive spell, allowing you to have bonus gold, and also sell as if all your units are equivalent to Growls. Overwork, aggressive spells to potentially have more Mythium generated during wave 11, and can be used as pressure on wave 12, and Giant Knell, the long-term aggressive spell that there is. So pretty interesting. If I think the two that will be favored is either Giant Snail and Punch Up. Not looking at the starts, we do have a Oathbreaker start on Yogg. We do have a Windhawk start here on the side of Wooboy with a Polywog split. Bounty Hunter start from Adamas, and we do have a Crusher plus Angler start on Vazir. So it will be quite a slow start. Everybody did send for income on wave 1. Vazir uh, did not send either. And we do have, this is 12 income from Adamas, so this is a yellow roll. So, and to be fair, very strong yellow roll when you're looking at this, because you have the Bounty Hunter, Polywog start, you can add a Mudman on 5, or maybe Mudman on 5, or prepare for your Halo on 6. So very well rounded. You also have the corridor for 7 and 8 if you need so. So lots of options. Uh, he just needs to know when to send it, when to use it. A little bit unfortunate, the Polywog did not tank anything, so this will be a leak from Adamas to the Snail resend. Still no send on to Adamas, onto Yogg here from Vazir. But this is extra time, so this is a 60 before income. There will be a Fiend here. The weird Grief Fiend, I mean, it's mostly impact onto Yogg, but he does have the Gargoyles. And 33% only for Delicon Animus, so not too bad. But still a leak that could have been avoided if this Polywog would have tanked a little bit, like he wanted. I think his goal was to have the Snail onto the Polywog, but just turn it the last second. So not a bad thinking about him of what he wanted the wave to do. Just didn't happen this time. But 5 workers on everybody, and that's despite not receiving up until now on YoggYogg. The Snail will push the Fiend onto the split. Is it a good thing? Probably yes, because this will allow to kill the Gargoyles as fast as possible. The only question is this Oathbreaker going to do enough damage to be a DPS terror? And looks like the passive will activate now, will survive the split due to the support of the Windhawk. Now, does the Fiend attack the Windhawk? Yes, now it's just a question of how long does the Windhawk fend off the wave for the Oathbreaker to do the damage. Look like that it will be a clear of everything except the... Oh, okay, retreat and the Fiend. Booboy does leak as well to the 60 cent here from Adamas. But Adamas leaking 6%, so only a single unit here. And we do have here the Angler almost fully stacked on Vazir. So the save to wave 3 from Vazir did pay off a little bit to do some king damage, but did not slow Yogg into his push. It was a leak, yes, on Yogg, but he did manage to push 5 workers before receiving a sense, which gave him a little bit of a momentum. Predicts a resend, goes for the Ranger. Having the Ranger here will allow him to fully push and be safe on next wave as well. So here you can see him, even if it's only a snail, pushing 1 worker just to follow everybody up. And also a resend onto Adamus of 40 and a 60 onto Vazir, trying to cause a leak. The Fire Archer is not tanking anything, which means that this is vulnerable for the Crusher. A weak point into his build, the Swift Armor is already dead. It's all a question of how much time the Crusher can buy for the Fire Archer, and it looks like it will be enough time. Adamus does leak to the 40 cent here. Did not build much on that wave, but is some 8 worker. We do see the Fire Archer not getting the Brute, and it will result into a leak because this Brute is surviving. There you go. And so a lot of king damage here from uh, Boboy and Yogg. And Boboy and Yogg are at 8 workers, so despite only receiving a snell here, Yogg deciding to push 2 workers might render him vulnerable on wave 5, but does have nice units to go. For this wave, he does receive a lot of gold also on this wave. The reason is coming on Vazir, from Vazir onto Yogg. So it'll be interesting to see if Yogg decides to go for income yet again here. It will, and that is probably a smart move. But it will be a, I think it's a Desert Pilgrim. No, it is a Mudman, so probably hardening that. But will like some damage, and so he will be struggling against the Brutes. And I don't think he has enough damage, so this will probably be another leak from Animus. Vazir has a Bounty Hunter, has a frontline, only receiving a Fiend. The boss is tanked by the Fire Archer. The Fire Archer needs to survive for Vazir to do good, and it will just barely survive, and so that means it should result into a hold from Vazir. What about, oh no, no Harden, the Bounty Hunter tanking. It clears the boss, but still will result into a leak from Adamus. We do have the 20, the Sand here, the 80 Sand onto Yogg. Does not seem to result into much of a leak here. The Ranger doing work, the Windhawk tanking just enough. And this is 10 workers on Yogg, so not slacking on the worker department. And he can allow himself to do that because he received 20, push 2, was only 50 under, then push 2 more to the 80. He could afford a 11 worker, but that would be too greedy because he still needs to prepare for wave 7, which is a wave where he needs to be careful on. So probably getting the Sea Serpent on wave 6 to prepare for wave 7, gets the quarter then. If he gets a send on wave 7, he can fully push because he's strong on 8, sorry. And so I think there's a good curve to be had by Yogg here. Deciding to go for income here, the 11th worker is here, deciding to just contradict me and not going for the Sea Serpent, going for the Ranger. So still more damage as you need. But he will not be able to afford the decoder here. Being undervalued here will struggle, deciding to not sure if he wants to do this, and he decides to do the exact same thing. They do go for a resend onto wave 6. The Harden comes in from Adamus, the Devilfish is here, but there is still no deep quarter, so this might still result into a leak. The Dino going onto the split will be targeting the Devilfish. First, there is one Roko on to the Bounty Hunter, best case scenario, I do believe, but only one on the moment? Okay, so not going too bad for Adamus, clearing most of the wave, but he will struggle against the Dino once he reaches that. And now you have the Sea Serpent and the Bounty Hunter targeting different targets, meaning that both of them will survive. Vazir not doing too great either, so this will result into king damage yet again. So yeah, if they targeted the same target, they could have killed both, but instead they just don't kill them. And here it is a Roko plus Brute leak. They do decide to go for wave 7. Yogg is still in the worker lead, not feeling pressure whatsoever, but he will struggle against those brutes because he doesn't have this deep quarter. Is there any way he can get it? He needs around 50 gold. He can send for income. He gets this as gold as well. So there is a chance that if he goes for income, he can get the deep quarter out of nothing. Still missing 30 gold. Oh, now it is a bit unclear. It looks like he gets it here. 90? Just barely. Wait, yes, he gets it. He gets the deep quarter, so that's very big for him. It's not barely, it was 10 from getting it. So the Snell wouldn't have mattered. It's just the last unit kill onto the king I managed to give that to Yogg, and I mean this is looking pretty good. High push from Yogg, still at only 8500, good damage, good frontline in the gargoyles, backline DPS in the rangers, so this shows promises. But those are still brutes. But this one looks like it will be sniped by the quarter quite fast. I mean, right away by that, because of this little shift that I do not understand why that happened. But the brute snipe right away, meaning that 60 million was pretty wasted here. Backline DPS still doing work here. And tanking some, that is massive here. Those two going down to the ranger is massive. On the side of Boy, we do see the ogre doing work. This will be a leak. What about YoggYogg? YoggYogg is leaking as well, but very small. This is very small for a leak, but Boy, very big as a leak, mostly because of the Ogre. Adam is leaking, do have a hold from Vazir, but is this enough to catch back up in KHP? That is the most important thing that is to be found. Is this enough to do as much king damage as they received? But even if they receive the same amount, you do have the worker from Yogg. That will cause a problem to Adamus. Adamus trying to keep up in workers. But this is very hard to do with some bounty hunters. But he's doing a pretty decent job with it. And this will result into some more king damage, but they still manage to equalize a little bit. So, I mean, the Kingpin can be very good if it's an even game. Right now, it's turning out to be quite even, despite the worker lead of YoggYogg. But I mean, that is exactly how you want to play against some kingpins. You want to be aggressive, you want to take risks, and that's what Yogg is doing, because you know that at one point those kingpin players will be pushing out of workers. And look at all this pressure resulting into that bounty hunter not being able to stack up. So this is a very low stack kingpin to be added by Adamus. And I don't think he can afford to go for one before wave 10. So on wave 9 he will be forced to keep it. And now the most important thing is to get those stacks for him. But let's see, he does get income sent quite a lot. That's a lot of extra units going onto him. Here, I think this is perfect for him. The Pilgrim perfect typing against that. This is good typing against the Cobras as well. So this will be a hold, but he still loses some stacks. 15 workers on Yogg, 12 on Buboy, 13 on Adamas, 13 on Vazir. We do have the Kingpin on Vazir already, going to push aggressively. So despite Adamas not having the best Kingpin, we do have Vazir having a strong Kingpin in 117 stacks already on wave 9. Decides to go for it. Just to protect Adamas and maybe allow him to greed a little bit of those stacks. I think Adamus will go for wave 12 or 11, increase on those on bounty hunters, try to get as many stacks as possible. We do have the king ups onto Adamus and Vazir, but Yogg receiving a real income send. So this means more push from Vazir, more push from Adamus, and more push from Yogg. So now on the side of Adamus and Vazir, you want to try something aggressive. You know that the build from Adamus is pretty weak right now because the bounty hunter was not able to stack up and stuff like that. So you want to do something aggressive. So the play, hear me out, will be overwork 12, I believe. So if Yogg and Buboy feel ahead, they need to be able to read that play. Buboy is pretty strong on wave 12, so we might see something like a full push from Adamus, despite not receiving a send on 10, because he wants to make use of this overwork and try to pro league. And this might be a second Kingpin coming out from Vazir to protect wave 11. Because Buboy is Yogg is not looking the strongest on 12. Does have the egg, and I do still stand by my decision that overwork 12 should be better. But they did decide to go 11. Okay, I mean that can catch them off guard. And you see Buboy and Yogg going for income, aggressive spell on Adam. Okay, so they do decide to go for overwork anyhow. They do not push aggressively. They want to hold wave 11. They want to make the wave long by leaking Buboy and Yogg. Looking at the values, they are on value here, but most of the value from Yogg is on this egg right now. But still only 90 under when calculating the egg. 21k value on wave 11. This is crazy from Yogg, and it might be enough to just hold. But no magic damage. We need to keep that in mind. There's no real magic damage. But I don't really like the 4-eye. Wait, that's not for the ogre. Wait, I dislike even more the ogre. Not sure what the ogre will accomplish in that. Because, well, yeah, he's just getting shredded. Yeah, not the best send here from Vazir, to be honest. What could have been better? Probably a witch. Like, you do a witch, and you spam your little tank mercenaries, and you benefit your witch. You buy time against the units before it reaches a wave. You destroy all the nature defense, and yeah, I think it's way better that way. But the 4-eye onto Buboy does make sense in the end, because all the value is in the red eye. So very good send here. But here, that allows the YoggYogg to hold, despite having a Hig here. So, miss send, but the egg might still die here because of the 4-eye ramping up. But who does that benefit? Now it's a long wave. It is a very long wave. I mean, this is a bit slower, but accelerated by the 4-eye. And this will go to the king and do some king damage. So a lot of bonus Mythium generated due to the overwork. Will there be a resend? There will be no resend. And they do not predict the other egg here from Yogg. I mean, Yogg is super dead on 12 to a resend. So I think it's a missed opportunity. But it can still go for wave 13, of course. But Yogg is overvalued by a lot. And he's pretty strong on 13 with those violets, as well as the quarter. But now with the gates on Buboy, do you just go witch on 13? I think witch on 13 could be good onto Buboy, but let's see what they decide to do. Do they want to go 14, accept that the X comes in, and go 14 or 15? I think 15 could be another option if they don't want to go. If they don't want to go 13, 15 has to be the play. They need to make use of those Kingpin on 14 though, so we will probably see some Kingpin's action coming up. And we do see the Witch here from Adamus. So reading in my mind, acknowledging that the Witch is probably the best. Because of all the nature, this will be held by the wave. The wave has enough damage to deal with that. The imps, just to add extra damage, he knows that the best damage type here is nature for Buboy, and so going for Ascend here is pretty good. I do think Vazir is long saving to 15 because he does have the Kingpins to cover him on 14 as well as the board. So probably the responsibilities right now are Vazir hold 14, Adamus will focus on 15, so probably going for another Lost Chieftain next wave, despite him being bad. But what? Isn't that just bad? Well, okay, so that, I mean, the witch was pretty decent to reach as far as possible, but not enough to leak Buboy. That does say that he was overvalued by quite a large margin, does manage to be able to push quite a lot or stay overvalued. That is so much overbuilding here. Does he need that? Does he need that much value? I just don't understand how is it necessary for him to be overvalued. I understand Yogg, why? Because he wants to go for eggs. But it makes a little sense for me for Buboy to stay low workers for that. He has less pressure on his opponent. If he does that, yes, he manages maybe to hold a bit better and cover the eggs. But is that the only reason why I could see that being an option is that they want to go for 16. Like they respect the pilgrim here from Adamus and want to go for 16. That is the only reason why I could see Bubay overbuilding here. The egg dies on Yogg. This is quite bad for him. He was overvalued by quite a large margin and still manages to leak. That's because he's lacking a bit of the damage. And also because his front line is not on the side of his DPS. Like you have your front line here with Hydras and things like that, but you have your DPS in the corners on the side where everything is super weak. So that's the main problem from Yogg, is that the eggs are not on the side of the DPS. So how to fix that is that you bring that up. You bring your split up. Okay, so he realizes the problem, goes for the egg here, raises the split. So with this will give him a bit more chance to hold. And yeah, so the prediction was correct. The fact that Boboy was overvalued here was just to allow himself to survive up until wave 16. And that should be the deciding wave because... will it though? Pretty hard one to call, honestly. Not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly if this is the correct play. It's either 16 or 18. Like, they cannot go 17 because of all... I mean, can they not? I mean, it's a lot of magic damage on Adamus, but the Kingpins from Vazir are not weak, and he does have boars. So yeah, the sense on 16 makes the most sense here. Double Centaur pack leader will pretty much wreck anything on Adamus' side, as well as on the side of... is it the same thing on Vazir's side? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be pretty much over here. They don't need much. They only need 33% king damage here. The values will speak for themselves. Very, very far under. Minus 400 on Animus. Pretty close to value, to be honest. But that's because even though he's close to value, most of his front line is fortified. Pretty weak on 16. He does have the coilers though. And Yogg is just overvalued here. Like, he's playing egg on low workers. Boy is pushing, doesn't care. And yeah, now it's on Adamus to hold, but he's receiving as big of a send as Vazir, so that's not looking great for him. The send here against Yogg will be fent off. The majority of the wave is on the side of the Hydras, buying time for the quarter to kill their side of the wave. And should be close to a hold. Vazir does leak to the double Centaur, does manage to kill one of them, and also a leak here with the pack leader going to the king with a Centaur as well on Adamus. And so this is enough to kill them. Very good controlled game, and Yogg staying low workers to get as much value as possible from the eggs. And there's pretty much nothing you can do in the mid game against that, except if you go for a long save to 14 or 15. If you cannot punish the egg on 14 and 15, then they can pretty much just full push workers after 15 without any issue. Like, it's always hard to play against eggs, especially when you have defensive spells such as punch up, because you are able as a player to just say, I'm gonna stay relevant in workers but not push too much, and just press my advantage through building eggs. So you play insanely overvalued, so that you can't guarantee your eggs, and the enemy will send you to try and break. And if you manage to stay overvalued for that amount of time, then you have a very low chance to leak or break the eggs. So that's what happened also on 14. He did not have the best composition on 14. He did lose it then, but every single time that he did receive a send prior to that, he was able to hold the eggs. Alright, wave 11, this egg was held. Or was it broken? It was broken by Boo Boy. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, I forgot, but yes, it was broken. This one survives, but it decided to let it live to go for 14 instead. But look at the value, it's like 3.5k value. This is insane, and that's why you can push heavily after 15 after that, because you will just be on insane value holding that, having an extra egg as well here. And so you just full push and make use of the 2 times worker, and you can even be above Boo Boy, because this value is enough for wave 18 already. So yeah, on that, uh, very well played by YoggYogg and Boo Boy. Controlled gameplay as you should do with eggs. A little bit of a rough early game by Adamus, but that was an aggressive early push from Yogg to allow him to have the income for eggs in the mid game, and just starve and overbuild to kill on 16. That's pretty much the name of the game. If Adamus was able to hold some of those sends, maybe not greeting as much on 4, maybe overestimated the power of the serpent here, which totally fine, can happen. But if he plays more passively here on 4, stay 6 workers, he can push way more on wave 5, because the wave is a bit faster, and he gets bonus stacks also. But Easy Leaks does allow Vazir to get more stacks onto his Kingpin. But yeah, when both teammates are doing Angler Start, it is very hard to generate those stacks, because you are weak at the same waves. You know that the opponent have very little pressure because you are forced to stay lower workers. Adamas did manage to do very well in following Yogg into the workers, but even though Yogg was leaking a little bit, it was higher workers every single time. But Adamas, as well as missing out on some of the gold of the wave, he was missing out on gold by the stacks of the Kingpin, which is his mid game damage, and was not able to generate a pressure play in the mid game with overwork into stand on 12 and things like that. So I say overwork in stand on 12 could have been good, because first you see the egg here on 11, you see Yogg not too strong on 12. Yes, there is a red eye onto Boo Boy, but you know that you just sent, or maybe you don't send and it goes for another board, that's possible. But if you decide to go, yeah, if you decide to go overwork and decide to send on 12, Boo Boy needs to delay that gate. It will lack damage, will only have a red eye, and so you can punish uh, with overwork 12 and put a pressure play, force the enemy to do a resend with king ups here, to protect yourself on 13, prevent a long save also, because you will be highly pushed as well. And here, just not sending at the same time always hurts. You do have the common send on 11, then someone goes 13, someone goes 14, someone goes 15. So a joint play was probably the play. They needed to say, okay, we're gonna force this wave. If we die before, it's alright. We're behind anyhow, but we need to make use of our kingpins. Like skip 13, you don't get a send. Skip 14, put all into your kingpins. Generate a pressure play. If you don't send on 13, maybe they decide to go for 14. But if they don't, and you don't send on 14, they are forced to send 15 for a race. These Hydras are not powerful enough on 15. Red Eye, lackluster a little bit on 15. I think 15 they could have gotten them. It's just because they were afraid to go for a long save, because of the egg generation. But you need to do a pressure play at one point. You need to pick up on the weak wave of Hydra, and that's basically when it doesn't have the damage type to protect the Hydra. So very few magic damage, and Hydra is very weak against Magic themselves, so 14 and 15 are always good ways to punish. So yeah, so that's my analysis of the game. You may disagree with it, but very well played by both parties, and see you next time, guys.